Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Moose and today I'm going to be telling you the 5 best decks that you can build from the Albaz Strike structure deck, so look forward to that. Now these decks will suit your budget, whether or not it be large or smaller. You know, there are decks for each budget type in here. So, if you like the video, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below telling me which of the decks do you think is most resilient and which one do you think you'll be building, and make sure to subscribe for more content like this. So, let's get into the video. Now, the Albaz structure deck is coming out in just a few days and we know that it's going to be hype. So, let's get into the first deck, and the first deck is, of course, if you haven't guessed it, well, Despia. Because Albaz branded Despia, it's basically one big archetype, and half the branded stuff also lists Fallen of Albaz on there, but Despias are so good in making this deck worth it. Because if you look at things like Aluba, the Jester of Despia, searching any of your branded spells and traps, branded fusion, sending your materials from the deck by locking you into fusion summons for the rest of the turn, that's pretty good. So honestly, if you were to build a deck of all the 5, I think the best one is going to be Despia by not that big of a margin, but by a margin. But in that case, you should know that the Despia deck will be kind of pricey to get into because of the price of Alubas at the moment. However, with the notice of reprints from Ghosts from the Past, that might just change because, as we know, Aluba is getting a reprint in Ghosts from the Past 2022. That card has already gone from $160 on TCG Player to, the last time I checked, $70 on TCG Player, so it lost half its value on just the announcement of a reprint. Now, it may go up in the next few days as people want to get the cards before the deck drops, but if you're okay waiting until Ghosts from the Past comes out, you may be able to pick up that deck for a lot less. Getting us into the second deck, now we're looking at just the cards from Albaz Strike, not Fallen of Albaz in particular. One of the best decks to work with this deck is actually Dragon Link, because if you were trying to build Dragon Link but things like Starleash Seifert were beyond your price tag, or you couldn't get some of the cards, well, Starleash Seifert, the Baby Chaos Dragons, Chaos Dragon Lavinia, and Omni Dragon Brotar are all coming up in this deck. And honestly, a lot of the other cards that make Dragon Link expensive have dropped in price quite significantly. Chaos Space still quite a bit, Battleload Savage Dragon's gone up quite a bit, but if you have the staples already from other decks, then you may as well be building Dragon Link, because putting in an Albaz engine into Dragon Link is really not the worst thing you could do. One of the nice things about Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres is if you tribute it on your opponent's turn to bounce a card they control, and then you summon out Fallen of Albaz from there, you immediately get to trigger Fallen of Albaz's effect to be able to then fuse off with your opponent's monsters. So you could get some really cool chains going on in your opponent's turn just by using Albaz's fusion monsters. So Dragon Link, even if you don't want to throw an Albaz engine into it and you want to play pure Dragon Link, really not the worst deck to build from the basis of the Albaz structure deck. Going into number 3, one of the nicest decks I think to add as a core even to Albaz, Despia, whatever form of the deck it is you want to build, is Dogmatica, because it's one of the best fusion light engines that you can get and works really well with things like Nadia's Servant, which can not only search out all your Dogmaticas, but can also search out, if you need it, Fallen of Albaz, which makes the card a lot more variable and a lot more versatile in a Dogmatica Albaz build than it is in a pure Dogmatica build, because you can use it depending on the situation. Then, going on to more fusion-based decks, if you want to be building like that, I would suggest combining this with a Despia engine, but then you could also think of something like Invoked. Combining Invoked and Despia could be really good. You get access to things like Magical Meltdown, Alistair, Aluba, and Branded Lost. If you haven't seen Branded Lost from the structure deck, it is a crazy continuous spell that, when you fusion summon a monster, also allows you to add a Fallen of Albaz or a monster that lists Fallen of Albaz in its text from your deck to your hand, which is really cool, and it also gives you the same kind of protection effect that Magical Meltdown gives you when you fusion summon. So even if you start off with a Magical Meltdown, getting your Alistair, play Branded Lost, play Alistair, summon out an invoked monster, you then get to get the added effect of Branded Lost, adding the Fallen of Albaz, or any of your monsters that listed on the card text to your hand, and get additional advantage from there, which really isn't bad. And then you also get the added, extension of invoked fusions to be able to increase your fusion deck lineup. more if you want to play a pure fusion build, because you're not really going to have much space in that extra deck left after Despia and Invoked, but you might just have enough for whatever you need. Then last but not least, if you are on more of a budget after this structure deck and you want to pick up something that's not really expensive but could still get you into some really cool plays, I would suggest Shaddolls. Because Shaddolls come both light and dark. They've got crazy cards like Shaddolls Schism. They work well with things like the Dogmatica engine as well, being able to dump things like Apkalone off Dogmatica Punishment, which you don't actually need to run a Dogmatica engine for, but it does make it better, and then getting you straight into your Shaddolls. So if you are playing on more of a budget, you want to play more of a fusion deck, Fall of Albaz plus Shaddolls might be a really good way to go. And honestly, I think that is my top 5 decks for what you can build out of the Albaz Strike structure deck. Obviously, there are other staple cards like Ghost Ogre, Effect Failure, Part of Extravagance. All those cards are genetically good for most decks, but these are my 5 top decks to build from the Albaz Strike structure deck. So let me know what you think down in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks everyone, see you next time.